Welcome back to the It's Bigger Than Me podcast. I'm your host, Molly Trotter Gomez. I am so excited for the topic today. When I was thinking about, like, we were talking about, Shantay and I were talking about the topic of what we're about to dive into from employee to entrepreneurship. I was just sharing with her, out of all the guests I've had on my show over the years, I don't think anybody's going to dive into this topic like she is about to. And I know there's some fresh fire on this thing. So if you have ever really wanted to know, how do I go from an employee to entrepreneurs? I see my friends doing it. What are they doing? How do I do it? Or even just getting some good golden nuggets. Maybe you are an entrepreneur. You are going to want to lean in. So I'm very excited to introduce you to my new friend today. I met her on social media, which I meet pretty much everybody because I'm your like networking butterfly over here. I find somebody, I'm like, hey, you look cool, or you have something I'd like to talk about, or like we can drive somewhere. I want to talk to you. And then I was like, once we had our conversation, Shantay, I said, you definitely got to be on the podcast because this woman is a well of information, from wealth to, of course, helping people just make transition from employee to entrepreneur, and honestly, so much more. And I'm just going to let you tell your story of just about your background, a little bit of who you are, Shantay, and just let everybody at home know just how wonderful you are, because there's a lot
Oh,
of seats here.
thank you. Thank you. So my background comes from corporate America. So you guys know a little bit about me. I come from corporate America, almost 2 decades of human resources before I actually launched into entrepreneurship. Been in entrepreneurship now since 2017, but however, full time since about a year ago now. So I've been totally full-time entrepreneurship, no dualpreneurs, true entrepreneurship, building a business. And so I get to talk about me as a published author. So some of you all may know that, may not know about that about me, but I'm a published author. I wrote the book, Release the Honey Within You. This is the honey season because the bees are going to fly.
Mhm.
I mean, the bees are going to the flowers and producing the honey, as we can see. So, but with all that being said, and also I'm on financial agency. I also in ministry as well that Molly just speaking about, and I get to go back in this place of helping entrepreneurs build sustainability and longevity, as well as help those who are transitioning from employee to entrepreneurship, and that's along the lines of self improvement. My coaching background is where I started in entrepreneurship. So that's a little bit about me. And that's kind of how it got me to this place where I'm at now. I feel a call to go back and help others become entrepreneurs, because that's something I did not know. I tell my story as a traveling speaker. I travel and I speak. I never shared this story about how I got into entrepreneurship until recently, when I kept getting the questions asked of me. Well, how did you become an entrepreneur? What made you get into entrepreneurship? That sparked that in me, because I share my story of different things in my book. I share my story about how I became who I am to this present day and time. But I never share how did you actually become an entrepreneur and all the things I've learned. And I didn't have a coach at that time. So for me to have a coach now and to be able to coach other people is really something I'm very passionate about. So that's me in a nutshell. I know I kind of took a long time to answer that question, but
Oh, no. Hey,
in a nutshell.
it is your story. The mic is yours. You however long you want to share and the details you share, I just let it flow. I never try to put like a, oh, hey, do it in like 30 seconds, like whatever comes to mind. Because I know when it comes to sharing our story, there's so many different dynamics. It's like
It is.
which piece flows into what piece. And you shared a
Yes.
lot of different pieces of some great history of what's led you to this kind of right now. So many people are asking, how do I go from employee to entrepreneur? I see my friends do it. People talk about it. So I would love to actually, you said that you haven't really shared that part of your story. So please, I'm so curious, what is that story? Because I think that's really going to probably set the stage of how you can walk people through this, because I know I get asked too, like, how do I do it? And
Mhm.
sometimes, some of us aren't anointed to teach in that area, but clearly you are.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try my best. So, so it started with me moving to entrepreneurship really when I moved to Ohio. So I came here married. And so when I came here married, I got a job because I was working in HR. And the company I worked for didn't have an opening here in Ohio. So I just had to apply for another job, because it was technically supposed to be Louisville, Kentucky, but it got switched to 11th hour to Cincinnati, Ohio. And I had two little children at that time. My youngest, my third one, was a baby, but the other two were in school age kids. And so at that time, I had to find a job here. And so I ended up taking a job at a university, at a college. Well, not a university, but a college here. And I was a career center director. And I was the chairman of the board. I mean, I worked out in the community. I built a lot of relationships with a lot of different leaders and whatnot to put them on the board. And I worked with the different departments in the college. Well, however, less than a year later, they downsized. And I was the first one on the chopping block to lose my job. And so by this point, I'm divorced. So a year span, I was married, been married, and we got divorced. Oh, it was like, man, transition, right?
Yes.
So then after that, I got another job about a month later, got another job back in HR, was the first one promoted. And I came back 11 months later. My grandmother passed away. I come back from Atlanta, Georgia. They set me down in the office. They said, hey, we downsizing. Back to back layoffs. And I'm a single mom, 3 kids, single mom. And I'm like, whoa, and went through all kind of financial woes. So by this point, it's 2016. And I'm like, what the heck I'm gonna do with my life? So I'm at a crossroads. And so I'm applying for jobs. I'm still applying for jobs because that's all I know. So remember, I come from an employee background. So I'm thinking like an employee. And so I get another job. And in that job, it wasn't the best environment for me. So it was kind of like, okay, how do I get out of this one and get something more stabilized? Ended up working another job. That got stabilized. I was let go again. In between that time, I know it was like, what is going on here? So you would think Ohio was like a curse for me, but really it was a blessing for me. I had woes, but however, 2017, that's when I launched my LLC. At that point, I was starting to have a heart for entrepreneurship. But because I still had an employee mindset, I would call myself being a doerpreneur. And I thought that was something that they was coined that term back then. I thought this was something really fabulous. You're working full time and be doing entrepreneurship. You're a doerpreneur. You like doing it, No, that's the worst thing you can do. And I said, any entrepreneur, don't do that. Don't boast in that. Don't brag in that. Don't salute that. Don't celebrate that. Don't do any of those above, because really it's a distraction. And so when I went to entrepreneurship, I consider myself an entrepreneur, but really I was thinking back, hindsight 2020, I was a high class self-employed person, or a high class, not self-employed, volunteer, because I wasn't getting paid and I didn't know what the heck I was doing in business. And so that went on for a number of years, where I would go back and forth like a seesaw. I would go back and forth. All kinds of financial headaches because I would end up losing my job. We were just in, they were downside. It was always the company merged. I mean, it was like you would think, and I don't believe in luck, but it was like the worst. I mean, it was like, what? But however, I was called to entrepreneurship, but I kept hitting my head against the wall. And so I wasn't really stepping out fully into something I was called to do. And so because I was delayed obedience, so to speak, therefore, I was having all these kind of struggles that should have been avoided had I just gave it all of my attention and really dedicated myself and had a coach and mentorship. That was one thing I lacked. But however, I'll come back to that. So that's ultimately how I ended up getting into entrepreneurship. And so finally, the book comes out. It's 2023. I'm traveling and speaking. I'm speaking at conferences. I'm still doerpreneur. You think I would have got it by this point. Laid off for the last time again, 2023. I said, this has been a saga. I could write a book on just the layoff periods alone. But however, I wrote the book. When I wrote the book, I was homeless for 5 months. So a lot of people didn't know that about me. So I was technically homeless for 5 months because my job ended and I could no longer afford to take care of my boys. And my daughter was an adult. She had her own place. And so I lost all my savings. Once again, I'm back in the financial woe. And I'll make good money and I'll end up not having the money. And so, however, I wrote the book in that period of time. I did a lot of master classes, started getting back in the coaching vibe because I had kind of stopped doing that by working. And so, however, I went traveling, I was speaking and doing that, and then found myself like, well, I'm not making the money fast enough as a coach. Now I understand that entrepreneurship is a roller coaster ride that you really have to be. It's not for the faint of heart, not at all. And so, but I went back to working. Sure did. Once again, when am I going to learn? Once again, went back to work, and I knew the Lord told me that I was not going to be in that job long. And I wasn't. I was starting in the fall, and I was out by the spring. This one, I got fired. This time, they say, you just can't be. And I was doing very well, very successful. And I got fired. And I was like, you know what? It's time for me to just truly be going to entrepreneurship and just go for it. Because at this point, before I got fired, I knew I had a heart for my heart was just really brewing for like to travel and speak and to do courses, seminars, workshops, all those different things I do now. I was longing to do that then. And now I got the space opportunity to do it. And I just decided to go full blown and I did it. And I have not looked back and I don't regret it. And so now I'm in a space, people ask me, Shantay, well, how do you do that? And well, how do you just do it full time? And how do you just work on that? So because I understand that battle. So it was a battle in my mind, my mindset. And I kept going back to employee and not thinking entrepreneurship. And so because I can get that and understand that journey, I'll get to go back and help those in that process and really encourage them, because I didn't have nobody walk side of me. Mm-hmm. So I got it now, mentorship, I got coach, I got all that now. All that I needed some years ago, I finally got it now. And so now I'm in a place where I really go back and help other people become that, because I get that journey, I get that walk. It's not easy, but it is worth it. If you're passionate about what you're doing, it's worth it. So.
I love that. And when you're with somebody who has walked in the shoes that you are going to walk in, who's not going to feed you fluff, it's going to be like, this is going to be great. And, you know, God will give you a vision and then he has to prepare you for that, right? Like there's a preparation period where everybody wants to skip that part of like, oh, he's just like, here's the vision or here's the thing. And this is going to be great. And he's like, and now you got to kind of go backwards before you can spring forward to really have that preparation piece. You know, as you're talking to people, because I know there's probably a lot of people listening to this where they're probably doerpreneurs, probably dabbled a little bit. It sounds good. I wish I could do it. You know, the freedom, all this stuff, because there are perks to being an entrepreneur, but there's also a lot of stuff that most people don't anticipate happening. What do you think out of all the people that you've helped so far? Is there like a common thread of like, oh, I didn't really realize it would be like this, or, oh, wow, this is better than I expected. Like, I'm curious on like the tone that
well, it depends. It depends on, let me say this. If you're hungry, it depends on how hungry you are for it. That is the key. A lot of people could want something, but they might want a salad. Somebody said, no, I want the 4-course meal. They're hungry. They will endure to the very end. Those are the ones that they got stand power. They got some stick to it. They committed. They're married to their vision. More importantly, they're married to their why. Mm-hmm. And if you're not married to your why, then it's almost a very uphill climb for you. Because that means you will blow with the wind. Whatever the wind blows, you will blow. Wherever the wind goes, you will go. But if you are flat-footed, 10 toes down, and you're hungry, and you want it bad enough, then you're going to fight. And so what I've learned is I've seen those who are hungry, and I've seen those who are not. I have learned if they want me to help them transition, I ask the question, how hungry are you? Because if you're hungry, I'm going to feed you. If you're semi-hungry, I'm going to give you semi-food. If you ain't hungry, I ain't going to feed you at all. Because then I know I ain't waste my time. Because I want the serious ones who really want it. And no, it's okay if you are, trying to figure out. It's okay. But be hungry. Now, what I've learned from people in this space and who I help, who says a common thread is some people say, oh, I didn't realize it's going to be this hard. Because people think it's going to be an overnight success. And anything that you get so easily, you don't value. But anything that you got some skin in the game and you work for it, you appreciate it. You're grateful. And you not only appreciate it, you're not only grateful, but you protect it. And you want to grow and you want to mature in that. So I've learned from people who are, I'm reading this book called 177 Mental Toughness. So I see the toughness in people. And I see some people who want it, but not yet ready for it. Because it comes with a level of discipline, a level of hunger. If I can just be so blankly honest, you have to be hungry for it. And I'm hungry for it. And I want to help those who are hungry too. If you're hungry for it, but you don't know what to do, I'm here to help you. And if you're not as hungry, but you see yourself getting hungry, I want to help you too. But I don't want to help the ones who are not hungry, because then I'm going to have to beg you. And I don't want to beg you for something. If I see value in you, but you don't see it, and yet you say you want it, but then you don't put forth the effort, it's kind of hard for me to walk with you, because then I have to constantly drag you. And I shouldn't have to drag you. I should walk with you, holding your hand and say, let's go. And we're walking together. I may go at your speed, but we're walking together. And so that's kind of some things I've seen. But I'm also seeing some of those who are hungry and they're just looking for the right person. Like I had a conversation with someone today, and I invited her to a self-improvement event, because I believe that's important. I think I said to you at the beginning, money follows self-improvement, but self-improvement does not follow money. So for entrepreneurship, it requires that. So anyone who I'm helping transition, especially even if they're in entrepreneurship, I still invite them, because it's important that we continue to grow, because entrepreneurship is constant self-improvement. We constantly work on ourselves. That goes without saying. But if you are totally employee background and never done entrepreneurship, it's almost imperative for you to, get into an environment where you're working on yourself. That mindset is critical, Because once I get this together, then the heart, everything else will line up so much smoothly. And so when I work with entrepreneurs, I always ask them, well, how much money are you investing in yourself? Are you taking time to invest in yourself? And so I'm finding some people don't do that. They'll spend money on entertainment, different things, but they never, which is, I consider that to be neck down. Entrepreneurship, we invest in things neck up. That means our mind.
Come on.
That's our mind. That's our mindset. And so that's one of the things I'm in this space of doing, is helping those entrepreneurs get into an environment that can feed that. Because you need that. If you're looking to move from employee to entrepreneurs, you need to be in that environment that's going to cultivate that, encourage that, motivate you, inspire you, lead you to action, to see results and success, to see your potential, to increase your belief system in yourself. Because a lot of times they don't have a strong enough belief in themselves.
That's right.
And so that's the first thing I deal with, is their belief. And so I pour a lot of belief into them. And so because I pour that, that's the minister side of me come out to pour that into them, to say, hey, you can do this. It is possible. It's grace, they can do it. And so I do it from that perspective. And so that's the space I'm in. And that's some of the things that I help them. I have a lot of tough conversations.
I'm sure.
A lot of matter of facts, because and in love, but I'm not here to sugarcoat it, because they don't need that. If that's the case, they can go talk to somebody who on employee level and so you shouldn't do that. Go ahead, we just say work together and just make it this way. No, entrepreneur, we're gonna come and help you elevate you. My job is to help stretch you, not to patty cake you.
Yeah,
but to stretch you beyond where you are. Like, I'm being stretched. Like, as entrepreneur, I have someone who's coaching me and he stretches me. I have that. And so my job is to make sure you have that. And so you can see your potential, to see results and success,
Otherwise, what's a coach for? If a coach is just going to let you be there, then it's like, why are we coaching? Like, if we think of what we think of a normal coach, when I say normal, it's like you think of like when you're a child and you're on a sports team, like the coach is not gonna be like, okay, just keep doing what you're doing. No, if you're soccer, football, you're going to run sprints, you're going to run drills, you're going to do things to really be able to get your mind and your body in shape. And there's times where you're like, I can't do this anymore. Entrepreneurship and athleticism. Oh my gosh, there's so many.
And boxing the same way.
Oh, boxing. Yes. Well, it's all like, if you can get this to go, it's like everything else will follow. But so many people just mush the mind of like, let me just do things that are easy, because life can be hard. But when you train this muscle more than anything else, I tell people at this point, I go to the gym pretty much, like every morning. And I'm like, it's not even in it for like the fitness anymore. I'm not in it for like, for me to like, that's a part of it, but it's more so it's a battlefield in my mind. So I get up early, I'm battling the things, battling whatever's coming my way, yada, yada. But it's a mind game. It's all a mind game. And so, like you said, you have to be hungry to be able to train that. And it's like it's almost like childlike faith, right? Like, it's like, you got to have a childlike mind where it's like somewhat moldable. You got to find the person that's going to mold it in the best way. Not everybody out there has the best intentions, but somebody like you, it's like, if you're hungry, I'm going to feed you. I'm going to feed you the right stuff. It's not going to be McDonald's. We're talking about like grade A steak, Wagyu, steak and potatoes. Like, come on, let's get the real.
Let's get the real. Yes. And so, but I like to have it on the front end, because I like to set expectations of what they can expect from me. And I think that's important. And so I enjoy what I do. I do it in love. I just enjoy it. I enjoy it. It's beautiful. And it's inspiring to people, to say, I can do this, and to see their face light up, to see that it is possible. And one thing I would say this, though, and for someone who's transitioning from employee to entrepreneurship, is give yourself a deadline.
Ooh, yes.
Give yourself a deadline.
Rip it.
So give yourself a deadline. What's a hard stop? I was taught that when I wrote my first book. And because without that, our brain is not used to having a deadline. And so when you give yourself a deadline, your brain starts to work and say, okay, I got to have this done by this time. Okay, I got to do this by this time. Okay, it's working because it's so not used to having a deadline. And so if your employee wants to be entrepreneurship, I said, give yourself a deadline. What's the day you say, I'm going to be off this job in 6 months, 3 months, whatever that timeline is, and honor that. That means you diligently working to build up a business so you can leave off your job. And I tell nothing to entrepreneurs, employees who want to be entrepreneurs is, work your business full time, but if you must work a part-time job and give that to your nighttime. Daytime, give yourself to your business. That's another advice I would give. That's the way I learned that. That's what I should have done. That was a mistake I didn't do. I should have done.
Learn from that. They're going to be like, okay, let me take her advice, because it's like hindsight. You've been there, you've walked it. And I like this. I love the fact that you put a deadline. Cause I remember I went from, it was an employee job. It was more of kind of like sales slash employee, but it was employee. It was like, here's the steady check, to rip off the Band-Aid to go to my own coaching business. I remember the Lord was making it very clear of like, hey, we're transitioning here. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so I remember sitting down, and this is the first time truly, and I don't remember how many years ago this has to at least be like 8 years ago, maybe like 7, 6, anyways, whatever. I was sitting down on the bed, first time I ever fasted and prayed. Seriously. Like, I mean, Lord, I need to hear you on this. You're telling me to leave this, to go build this, even though I know I can't. I was like, okay, 90 days. He's like, mm-mm. And I was like, 60. Mm-mm. I literally just heard that, just mm-mm. And then I saw the face. I was just like, okay. And then I said 30. He said, yep, better get going. And I was like, oh my gosh. So ripped off the Band-Aid, jumped into my own coaching business, set everything up. And I knew how to do it because I was helping coaches in another agency do this.
Okay. Okay, good.
So it wasn't like from scratch. Like I had some training. That's why it was like 30 days. He was like, yeah, you got this. You just got to rip the Band-Aid. So when I ripped the Band-Aid, within a few months, I started making more money than I had ever made, like closing $25,000 clients like this. And like, I had never done that. And I was like, well, all right then, like, I mean, it felt like it was like snap within like probably like 6 to 12 months. It was just because it went by so quickly. But it was one of those where it was just like, sometimes you just got to rip it and you just got to trust them with it and just see where it goes. And there may be some challenges and character building moments, but when you're in the right environment with the right person mentoring and leading you and knowing God's always on your side, you get all of that. Like, you will not fail. The only way you fail is if you're just like, I do not want to do this. And then you don't, then you fail. But with somebody like you, it's like, I got the food right here. Like, do you want it? It's not this little carry. Like, this is like a gourmet meal. Like, come and get it. But it's up to you.
Get it. It's up to you. But I'm willing to work with you. And that's, I was telling her. I was telling the young lady today, I said, I'm willing to work with you. I said, you got me. I said, but I just need you to do the work too. If I'm putting in the work, I need you to put in the work, and let's do it. And let's go for it. And she said, okay, well, I want, and so she gave herself a deadline date. And she said, okay, I want to have this done because our next big event is in July. It's in Dallas, Texas. And I said, okay. She said, okay, by Dallas event, I want to have all this put in place. I said, okay. I said, let's meet. Let's hold accountability because I believe in accountability. I think that's critical.
Yes.
Accountability. I said, okay, let's meet at least 2 or 3 times a week. I said, give me 30 minutes to an hour. And let's dive into your business. Let's dive into your goals. How are we executing that? What are we doing? And how are we doing? She said, okay, well, I want to add what you're saying here, and I want to add to this. I said, we can do that, but I need you to walk with me. And I said, and work with me. Let's do it. Let's go for it. She said, okay, let's go. Can we meet tomorrow? I said, yes, we can meet tomorrow. So
that's hunger right there. Come on. Can we meet tomorrow? Let's go.
Listen, I didn't have to ask the question. She asked me the question.
And you're like, music to my ears.
Music to my ears. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
I love this.
So I tell people, I jokingly say, I said, because they call me Coach Honey. And I said, see, we get to put some honey in the money. Let's go for it. Let's go. The honey, that's honey. So you saw, I got it in my hand. I'm like, yeah, it's the gold. It's the gold. I know what the gold is. I just need you to come with the gold. If you want the gold, I got the gold. It's an inside joke between some people, but yeah. So I'm glad she's moved forward. And I had that call with somebody else who's actually look at me as a mentor as well. Same call today. And I said, let's put some things on the schedule because consistency is important. And so she was like, okay, you're right, Shantay, you're right. I said, yeah. I said, I'm here to help you, not, I'm not getting paid to do this. They're not paying me to do this. It's me just doing this. So I want to say that for the record. And I'm just passionate about this. Something God has graced me to do, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
I love, and you're sowing into the kingdom. You're sowing into people. You're showing them the way. Like, not everything has to have $1 and cents to it. Like, I know there's obviously, you're a finance coach. That's a whole nother like rabbit trail we can go down. So she knows about money, y'all. But what she's doing is something out of the kindness of her heart of like, hey, I want to help people in this, and like you'll see fruit from it in so many ways. And so, Shantay, as we're wrapping this up, gosh, there is so much liquid gold, if you will, so much honey dripping all over this episode. Is there anything else that you would like to say while we're wrapping up, as well as where people can get in contact with you? Because I'm sure they want to know more about, like, I got to be involved and be in this women's atmosphere.
One thing I would just say, go for it. To anybody who is considering entrepreneurship, go for it. And go for, let me just say this one, this is a bit of wisdom. If you are in a country and nobody has no shoes, what business would you start?
Well, something for the feet.
It's something for the feet. So don't go out there selling lashes, and that's not the dominant need. You have a business around need, and you have a passion around a hobby. But a business, you find the need. You know the need. You know the need. And so make sure as an entrepreneur, you get into something that's not necessarily just self-employed, but it's a true business. So there's a difference between self-employed and entrepreneurship and being a business owner. So know that. So you're not, because self-employed can have you working, you can make extra money, but you could be working like a Hebrew slave, they would say. That's an inside joke.
I mean, sometimes you're working like 68 hours a week. Like
you're working 60 hours a week. You don't want that. That is not what you don't want. But at the end of the day, if you're in a country where they have no shoes, you'll want to do something where they have, you want to go in the shoe business. And so that's what I'll leave you all with that. So anyone who's thinking about transitioning, write the vision, make it plain, and then get people around or get around people that can help you. I'm willing to help you all. You all can go on my website. You go to freshnewconsulting.com. You can schedule a call with me. It doesn't cost you anything to sit down with me. You can find me on social media platforms. I'm on Facebook at Shantay Adams. IG is Shantay L. Adams. I'm on TikTok, Twitter, you name it, LinkedIn. You can find me on all those social media platforms. I love to connect with you, answer questions, just talk with you. I don't mind that. If it's just to talk, maybe you say, I don't want the mentorship as much, or you do, but you want to have some questions, you want to dive in deeper, I'm certainly available to answer your questions. So look forward to connecting with you. And thank you, Molly. Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it. This was super fast, by the way. I enjoyed it.
We're just gonna, everybody comes on here and it's like, feels like we're done, but it's perfect because you gave them exactly what they needed. Here's the next step. Go connect with her. Obviously, she's like, even if you just want to chat, like I love that because so many people, and there is a thing of guarding your time, but it's also like a lot of people feel like, oh, I can't reach out to her, but you're so welcoming and so open, and you do have that heart of gold to really be able to help and serve people. So thank you for coming on and just giving us all the tea, the good stuff to really be able to just help people make that transition. Because I believe a lot of people want to, they need to. It's like, this is how you can create generational wealth and freedom for yourself and your family. But it's just, you need somebody to be like, okay, what's next? And I know you have the script on what's next. So this is your sign. Go reach out to Shantay.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining me on the It's Bigger Than Me podcast. If this episode spoke to you, go share it. Someone else needs the breakthrough that you just had. And don't forget to tag me on social media. I would love to reshare what spoke to you the most on this episode. Your story is meant to be mentorship to somebody else. It's meant to move others. Don't keep it quiet. Go lead with it. Until next time, keep showing up and keep sharing what matters.